Long before Australia's social media restrictions took effect, Sydney father of 5, Danny Alaji, knew his eldest daughter's mobile phone was causing more harm than good.
She constantly would say to us that if we didn't give her a phone, she'd be the only child in her grade without one. She would lose all her social connection. So we did give in and gave her that phone. Within the space of days, we saw that it ripped her away from the family life. It completely overwhelmed all her spare time. She was no longer reading like she was previously. She was no longer engaging with her siblings. She wasn't helping with dinner anymore. Every spare moment was spent attending to those pings and dings.
It was enough to prompt Alaji to start a community group, Heads Up Alliance, for Australian parents delaying social media and smartphones for their children. So when the Australian government announced a landmark new policy,
this is Australia showing enough is enough.
Alaji was relieved.
The social media laws that came into effect in December was a huge vindication for our movement, because for a long time we were spreading the word through word of mouth. And, you know, some people thought that we were just being a little bit over the top, that perhaps we weren't with the times.
If they weren't with the times then, they appear to be now. Across Australia, polling from Monash University found around 4 in 5 adults support the restrictions. And countries around the world have either implemented or are considering similar rules. But the rollout has been uneven, with reports of many kids finding ways around the regulations. We canvassed opinions of a range of stakeholders to assess the effect of rules like that in Australia and their impact on the social media business.
We do not believe that we are within scope of the law because we are purely a messaging platform. We nonetheless are complying.
It's displacing their studies, it's displacing their attention, and it's displacing their sleep.
When my children are at school, they appreciate that children are less on their handheld devices.
I've always been 50-50 with the restriction laws.
Australia's social media regulation was a long time coming. Concerns over youth mental health were growing, and the role of social media was at the heart of it.
So social media has at least 3 negative effects on youth.
Ravi Iyer is the research director for the USC Marshall School's Neely Center and helps manage the Psychology of Technology Institute. Before that, he led teams at Facebook working to improve the societal impact of social media.
We know that many youth have these negative experiences. They see things they're not ready for. They see unwanted sexual content. They see graphic content. They're contacted by strangers. Sometimes they're groomed. Then there are these displacement of all the other things that kids should be doing, right? So kids should be sleeping. They're still growing. They're developing their brains. They need to get a good night's sleep in order to, do well at school the next day. And a lot of kids are using these products overnight at times when they shouldn't be. They may be using them in schools.
Iyer is in good company, even among teenagers themselves. In 2022, 32% of U.S. teens said social media is mostly negative, and that share has gone up to 48%. Jennifer Park Stout is the Senior Vice President for Global Policy and Platform Operations at Snap, best known for its app, Snapchat. Do you share some of the concerns about social media apart from messaging, which is what you identify Snapchat as primarily being?
Look, I think this is a really complicated topic and one that can't be solved by just quick fixes or blanket bans. I think individual choice and parent choice plays a big role in how young people should be spending time on social media and technology. Even though Snap is primarily a messaging platform, of course, there are a number of choices out there for young people to be on platforms where they're consuming content or they may be interacting with strangers. That's not what Snapchat is about. Snapchat really is a messaging platform where we've built in a tremendous amount of protections to make sure that the experience they have is safe and that they're connecting with people that they actually know.
Is there research that you think is reliable to really give us a sense about what the risk might be or not be, whether it's social media generally or something more specifically?
Yeah, I think the research is mixed. There's no research yet that has come out that can give really any indication that bans are the right approach when dealing with teenage well-being and mental health. However, I think it was the Journal of American Medical Association that came out recently that said that, complete removal of social media for young people, as well as excessive use, neither are healthy for experiences for teens. But somewhere around the middle, the sweet spot, that's what actually can help young people. It makes them feel connected. It makes them feel like they belong to a community.
Australia acted decisively in curbing youth access to social media. Shortly after the rules went into effect, close to 5 million accounts across 10 different platforms were removed, and new users have been barred from signing up. But that doesn't mean the rollout has been a sweeping success.
Perhaps unsurprisingly, over the last 3 months, we've heard overwhelmingly that children have managed to find a way back onto the platforms, have not had many obstacles placed in their path whatsoever. People can just log in under a new account. So this is now where we're looking to our government and to our regulators to wield the stick that is written in the legislation itself of significant fines for those platforms who don't comply.
That's also the concern for Paul Litherland, a former police officer and prominent e-safety advocate in Australia who founded Surf Online Safe. He expects the wave of kids trying to circumvent the restrictions to be largely confined to those that have had existing accounts removed. He believes the trend will die down in coming years, but is calling for more compliance from social media networks.
My concern is, once again, time and time again, we've seen the networks fail in regards to response from government requests and from legislative changes. So my main concern was the fact that the networks probably wouldn't respond. And as an example, within our legislation, there's 2 words. The networks must take reasonable steps to remove or to stop kids from joining under that age. So my concern is with their determination or their interpretation of reasonable steps.
We have worked very hard to meet compliance. So what that means in practical terms is that we have worked very hard to quickly identify the population of users in Australia that are under the age of 16 that we had to immediately remove from our platform. That's quite a complicated task in a world where age verification and age assurance technologies do not exist in a foolproof way. We and our operations team worked very hard to quickly identify those that were under the age of 16, as well as those that we may have inferred to be under the age of 16. And by that, we then remove those users from our platform and are continuing to work to verify the ages of these users to make sure that they are not on our platform.
As you describe it, it is a complicated process that you have to go through. But as you've gone through it, is that a material portion of your clients or customers in Australia?
I wouldn't say that it's a material portion, right? It's those that are on the platform between the ages of 13 and 15. So we've been public about those figures. It's over 400,000 people that fall in that age category that we have removed from Snapchat.
And how many users do you have in Australia overall?
We have roughly 8 million daily active users in Australia.
For social media companies, teenagers are an important demographic. Late last year, the Washington Post reported on internal memos from the head of Instagram, telling its teams in 2024 to be, quote, laser focused on teens.
If we had age limits around the world, along the lines of what Australia has done, how materially would it affect the bottom line of the social media companies?
So, social media companies will say that they don't monetize youth that much now, which is, I would think is true. I don't know 100%. But I think what would happen is that over time, people would get less in the habit because you get to develop these habits younger. And so there'd be less of the habit of using social media as they get older. You'd have fewer of these network effects. So I think over the long term, it would be detrimental to the growth of these platforms. Now, these companies are wildly profitable. They could have amazing businesses not doing these things. So in the grand scheme of things, these companies would do fine. They'd be wildly profitable, but they wouldn't be the growth engines that drive their stock price. And so they would just have to be like regularly profitable companies as opposed to the super profitable companies that they are today.
Does it have a substantial effect on your revenue, on advertising?
We're not focused on revenue or advertisers when it comes to the safety and well-being of young people. And we understand that they're a very sensitive cohort. And so we care more about their experience online, all of the safety protections and measures we put in place to ensure that when they are on Snapchat, those that are eligible to be on Snapchat, that they have the safest and most positive experience they can have.
Society has long taken steps to restrict the activities of youth, be it watching movies, drinking, or the right to vote. Social media may just be the latest extension of that.
It's important we give that analogy in regards to alcohol and driving. There's education there, there's rules around the release of these products to kids and to humans. That's what I've been really frustrated and why I left the police, because there were no rules. Everything in our physical world has rules. Look at a car manufacturer. You can't release a car into Australia unless it's a 5-star rated, unless it's got airbags, brakes. We need brakes, okay? But social media, we haven't had that.
Parents like Danny Alaji hope Australia's social media restrictions are a step toward doing just that.